proposal should come back for some more serious dialogue with the public, and it should be developed in more serious dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brian Zelli, and then Deanna Hayar, or Hayer. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Secretary and the board. Thank you for being here in Northern Virginia. I'd like to open up with a question. Why is it okay to build up transit first before widening inside the Beltway, but widen before building up the transit outside the Beltway? Why are there such different approaches taking to the same interstate freeway? In May, Secretary Lane, you released a press release to inform us that the CTB's analysis showed a savings of about $500 million to over $1 billion by choosing a design, build, procurement instead of a P3. Today, based on what we've learned from the press releases, is we understand that that analysis is being put aside and another P3 is being chosen, another highway project like Highway 460 in Tidewater, and who can forget that debacle with $200 million of taxpayer money flushed away. 495 around the Beltway, and here in 95, with their features including decades of unlimited tolls by an unregulated monopoly, private prosecutors in our courtrooms, and special non-compete agreements to prevent metro or freeway improvements to our state for the rest of our lives. Does everybody know that the I-66 proposal includes a non-compete against the Orange Line that would prohibit the Orange Line from being expanded or improved without the private company being compensated, or I-66 free lanes being approved during the project as well? Just as today, there was a non-compete against I-95 and US 1 parallel route from being improved without compensating Transurban, the operator. VDOT has told the leaders in the Transportation Planning Board how many meetings it has had with our communities, but the community concerns have not been addressed. Meetings without actions that reflect the people are just lip service to the people. No plans have been released on how VDOT will deal with the stormwater, the pollution, and all the negative impacts to the communities that the I-66 plan will send to private property. Yesterday, we learned in a meeting with VDOT that the Do Not Harm alternative, which is a community-based proposal that reduces the impacts along the most restricted area of the right-of-way, that alternative that we provided VDOT earlier this year, and VDOT has told the TPP that has been analyzed, but we learned that instead of analyzing that proposal, another alternative that accentuates the traffic weaving was being dismissed because there's too much traffic weaving. So I ask, who supports this project? While the construction project and the special interests are rejoicing, the residents are weeping whenever Virginia chooses paving over planning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Deanna Heyer, if I have that correct, and then Mary Hines, Chairman Hines. Good evening, sir, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Deanna Heyer, and I represent several neighbors who live in the Dunlory-Vienna community down the street from here, which is adjacent to the 495-66 interchange. Given our location at the Beltway, we will be significantly affected by decisions both inside and outside the Beltway, so we are really putting this in your hands. At the May 20th board meeting, I spoke to you all on the community's concerns about VDOT's recommendations for the 495-66 interchange in the outside the Beltway project. I am here today to continue to advocate for a do-no-harm approach. This project, with a do-no-harm approach, supports addressing the specific choke points throughout the corridor without over-engineering solutions that will cause irreversible long-term damage to our community. As evidenced by comments made publicly the last several months and here today, the verdict is still out as to whether commuters agree with the state's plans to toll our entire network of interstates in the Northern Virginia region. The fact of the matter is, if the people who use these roads don't want to pay the tolls or really can't afford to pay the tolls, and they can't find enough people to carpool with them, the plan will fail. I ask, would you take that risk if it was your home? If it was your kid's school? Why should they be sacrificed unless we're really sure this is going to work? While progress has been made in reducing the project footprint, I'm here to ensure it is documented that the preferred alternative that you approved in October in Virginia Beach still has significant environmental and community impacts. They also include unnecessary costs where viable alternatives exist that have not been evaluated. The project still requires the state to take 11 homes and over 150 backyards and private property including Stenwood Elementary School land. The plan throws in an unnecessary ancillary road expansion for Fairfax that the project planners have noted will have zero impact on solving congestion on I-66, and there is no data to support the need for added capacity on this road. The only reason we've been given is that the county wants it. The plan also proposes to build excessively high interstate ramps that will add miles of needless asphalt and pollution and will tower over our surrounding communities forever, changing the landscape of this region. The board should be demanding more information about the costs and benefits of the current plan and its alternatives. Very little detail is being provided on the risks, the assumptions that are being made, the limitations. I mean, basic science is being ignored here, and the pros and cons of alternatives need to be presented to you all. It is worth noting that approvals from the region's Transportation Planning Board and Fairfax County both included contingencies because there remain countless important details that have yet to be worked out. Your approval should not be a rubber stamp. We are counting on you to ask the questions, to understand the risks the state is taking on behalf of its citizens and taxpayers. In closing, I do want to thank you for holding this meeting locally to hear from those directly impacted. Both projects affect us and are 100% dependent on each other. Without effective solution inside, there will be zero benefit outside. Thank you for your time again.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairman Hines and then Audrey Clement. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Secretary and members of the Commonwealth Transportation Board. Thank you for being here tonight and having this hearing and giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Arlington County. I am representing the county board this evening. I-66 is a very important corridor to Arlington as well as to all of Northern Virginia, but it's not just a highway with road congestion. It is already an extremely successful multimodal corridor with some of Virginia's highest transit use and also some of its most serious transit congestion. And it runs in one of our most constrained roadways through high-rise downtowns, dense residential communities, through rough terrain with trenches, streams, and even tunnels. All of this is to say that solutions for I-66 problems have to be beyond the box, outside the box. It's not the sort of corridor where VDOT can just widen it eastbound and call it a day. The physical constraints in Roslyn, the width at the bridge crossings, and the DC road network effectively limit the value of just widening. I-66 needs greatly improved transit and more efficient and effective management. It's my understanding that you released analysis today using the 599 process that shows that the multimodal solution is 3 times more effective at moving people than widening alone is, and that the current proposal before us from VDOT is many, many times more cost effective than widening alone. Those are reasons that we should really look seriously at what you have put before us. With that in mind, I'm very pleased to support the overall proposal in front of you today. It's a sensible, technically sound concept that legitimately addresses the variety of problems and the variety of solutions that are needed along the I-66 corridor. On November 19th, the Arlington County Board voted to officially endorse the concepts proposed in the I-66 project. We did that with a lot of input from our local citizen-led transportation commission, our Chamber of Commerce, the Sierra Club, and the Coalition for Smarter Growth, as well as many opportunities for our residents to weigh in. Our endorsement was only possible because of the hard work of the state staff who have gone the extra mile to make this a legitimately multimodal project, who in our view have actually listened as we have talked to them. And our endorsement is absolutely conditioned on the project following the outline in the Memorandum of Understanding or Agreement with Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. Without this agreement in place, Arlington could not support this project. Specifically, Arlington's endorsement is contingent on toll revenue providing a predictable, stable, and genuinely sufficient fund dedicated to improving travel options along this corridor with a particular focus on rail, bus, and carpool, slugging, van pool, following a fair and equitable process at MVTC. It's also conditioned upon toll revenues not supplanting existing VDOT funds going to the corridor for basic operations and maintenance.
I'd ask you to wrap up, please, ma'am.
I will. I have just like another paragraph, Secretary. And it is also contingent upon the Commonwealth continuing to work cooperatively with our jurisdictions. Finally, it is our view that VDOT shall not pursue widening of I-66 until after a meaningful evaluation of the effectiveness of the project's tolling, HOV3, and multimodal components have all been put in place, and we would ask that you look at 4 years after we switch to HOT. Again, thank you. We do remain opposed to widening, but we are willing to work and compromise with the region.
Thank you. Thank you. Audrey Clement, and then Eleanor Olson.
Welcome, members of the board. I'm Audrey Clement. I'm an at-large member of the Green Party of Virginia. I am also an Arlington resident, and I endorse the remarks of Mary Hines, Alan Munchnick, and Stuart Schwartz. I'm here to testify in support of the resolution recently adopted by NVTC, enabling it to fund transportation improvement projects on I-66 inside the Beltway from revenues received by tolling the roadway, evaluate the results, and widen the road later, only if necessary. The principal objection of opponents to this project is that tolling should be accompanied by road widening now, not later. They point to the fact that construction of toll lanes on I-395 and 495 was accompanied by widening. The difference is that neither of these interstates has metro rail facilities. I-66 does. So whereas there may have been no alternative to widening other Northern Virginia interstates, it's not so obvious that road widening is the only solution to congestion on I-66. In fact, VDOT's own data indicates that up to 50% of traffic on I-66 during peak periods consists of SOVs, despite the fact that most SOVs are banned from the road during those hours. Under the proposed plan, only official vehicles would be permitted to operate as SOVs during peak period. Also, whereas it is virtually impossible to police current SOV restrictions, the future ban on SOVs would be enforced at the toll booth. Better enforcement could result in dramatic reduction in unauthorized SOVs, which would in turn be accompanied by a dramatic decrease in congestion. The only way to find out is to establish tolls first and evaluate the results. That is what NVTC wants to do, and it is clearly the only rational way to proceed. For surely it makes no sense to spend $100 million to widen I-66 inside the Beltway unless it has been demonstrated that a lower cost alternative will not work. In a letter to Virginia Secretary of Transportation Aubrey Lane in July, Delegate Jim LaMunyon argued that VDOT's announcement of its plan to toll the road without any supporting documentation was an example of fire aim ready. His criticism was well taken. And VDOT has since published a modeling study evaluating the impacts of tolling, which I know some people dispute, but at least it did publish it. The same observation applies to proponents of immediate road widening. Widening the road without demonstrating the need is just another example of ready, fire, aim. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Eleanor Olson, and then William Perriman. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Einar Olson. I'm an Arlington resident and also a 40-year resident of Virginia. I've also traveled extensively throughout the state of Virginia. And I'm just here to make 4 points. Number one, I think the tolling structure and schedule proposed is very biased. Because basically, people who live in the outlying areas of the region who travel into DC are going to be the only ones paying the tolls. They'll be paying the toll going in the morning and going out in the afternoon. Whereas if you're a Washington, D.C. resident and you have a corporate job at Tyson's Corner, you will never pay a toll. And I think that's very biased. Number two, the toll schedule I think that's being proposed is pretty outrageous. VDOT would never dare go down to Hampton Roads and Richmond and try to charge these types of tolls. And I think what's happening here is you're gouging Northern Virginia and using us as a cash cow. Number three, we've heard that there's going to be a lot of enhancements to this corridor. But it's been very vague. There have been no specific things mentioned to the public as to what these enhancements are going to be. And then finally, given that gas is under $2 a gallon statewide now, why not go back to Richmond and advocate for a 10 cents increase on the tax and then spread that money around the state, and so we don't have to endure these tolls. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. William Perriman, and then we have Delegate Bob Marshall.